You might find yourself in the middle of a tornado, you might find a storm coming in, lifting you up, blowing you away, or something as simple and mundane as heavy rain, which makes noise much more difficult, and then you have to be more careful because you don't hear people as much anymore. Hello, my name is Martin Hultberg. I am Narrative Director for Exoborne. Exoborne is a tactical open-world extraction shooter, and today, here at Gamescom, we are showing gameplay for the first time. A big part of Exoborne is what we refer to as the apocalyptic forces of nature. So we have a world where storms, tornadoes, all kinds of weather is tearing the world apart. And some of this happens as you play. Everything related to weather affects the gameplay in our world. In a session, what happens is that players can choose to try to manipulate weather using these big stratus towers, or the effects happen dynamically regardless of what players do. So the cadence of weather change is hard to say exactly. It depends on what the players on the map are doing. But during a session, you will experience weather change multiple times. The weather system that powers our game is extremely complex. It is a complex engineering task, because it does not just affect your character, your gameplay, it affects lighting in the game, it affects handling of vehicles, it affects so many things, right? One of the things we set out to do was kind of create a unique gameplay experience that happens between the exo-rigs, the forces of nature, and then our high-risk, high-reward gameplay. And that's a lot of experimentation, and it's a lot about player customization, like being able to customize your exo-rig to play the way you want it to play. That doesn't mean there's like a superior exo-rig configuration, because it's up to you depending on the activities you choose, depending on the weather, depending on your team. You kind of have to adapt as you play, and that's kind of the core of the experience. In Exoborne, we have 3 types of exos. We have light, medium, and heavy, and they offer a very different playstyle at the base. So the light one, we call the Kestrel. It is adapted for stabilization in the air, for flying on the winds and stuff like that. Can't have as heavy guns and armor, but more mobility. We have the medium one, that's a support and recon exo. If you want to sneak ahead and check out the area, find the loot, that's your exo. Then we have the heavy, shield, guns, armor. If you want to go in and be a heavy, a tank, that's your exo. But you can still customize them a bit. There's some range. So balancing is obviously key. That's why we're moving into the beta phase now. We are playing a lot with real players. We're inviting them to our user research lab in Malmö. We also have online tests that we're running. We ran the closed test not too long ago, 6,000 players. Balancing is the trick of any live game, any multiplayer game. It would be impossible for me to stand here and tell you now what the solution is, but we're testing it, we're working on it. It has to be an exciting and fun play field. So if anything becomes, as we say, overpowered, OP, we have to take care of that. And we want to take care of as much of that as possible before we go full release. We pair you up with enemies that are on roughly the same level. So we have to look at player skill, we have to look at equipment, we have to look at your history, a bunch of variables in gameplay. But we also have different maps in the game. And some of the maps are designed for more experienced players. A lot of the people working on Exoborne have worked together in the past on other games, high-risk, high-reward type gameplay. We worked, for example, on The Division many years ago, one of the early extraction shooter experiences. And we've been thinking a lot about that since then. Everyone knows that extraction shooters are a hardcore genre. It's hard to get into if you're not familiar with it. So we're working what we call approachability. Approachability for us is the idea of not just providing a narrative framework so you can get into a story, there's a tutorial, there's onboarding, there are all these things you can expect. But also, in regards to high risk, high reward, we want to make sure you have a high risk in the session, because that's the fun of these games. You're sneaking around, you're looking for loot, all of a sudden there's a gunfight, your pulse goes up, adrenaline goes up, hopefully you survive, you move on, it's a roller coaster. But what happens when you die? You lose everything. That's the tough part. That's what a lot of people don't want to experience too much of. So we have a long-term progression that we're protecting. You're always going to get some type of reward, you're always going to feel like you're moving forward on a meta level. So even if you should die in a session, you feel like you gained something out of it. That's important, because that means people have an easier time of losing in a session. Personally, I change exos all the time depending on what I'm doing. I usually don't play heavy myself. I go for light or medium because I want to be fast, I want to be mobile, and I'm not the tanky guy, I'm the sniper guy, I'm the sneaky guy. So yeah, I don't go heavy, I go light or medium, but that's just me.